Revealed, the heartwarming moment I discovered my son, alone, fighting for his life in the hospital. Jack's heart raced as he drove through the snowy streets. The voice on the phone echoed in his mind, churning waves of fear and disbelief. Ethan is at Oak Ridge Community Hospital. He could barely wrap his head around it. Moments ago, he was at home, just another ordinary winter day, filled with the comforting sounds of laughter and the promise of pancakes for dinner. Now, every passing second made him feel like he was losing ground in a battle he never signed up for. As he reached the hospital, the sterile facade loomed before him like a great white fortress. Inside, the fluorescent lights buzzed harshly. The smell of antiseptic filled the air. His throat tightened as he scanned the waiting area and saw Ethan through the glass doors, just 10 years old, yet so fragile. The sight of his son, pale and vulnerable in that stark room, and the soft beeping of the machine struck Jack's heart like a thunderclap. He fought to stay composed, filling out forms while his mind raced. Insurance? Payment plans? Guilt washed over him in heavy waves. How could this be happening? Was he failing Ethan? The thought felt like a punch to the gut, and he took a deep breath to steady himself. Yet as he sat by Ethan's bedside, looking into those wide, innocent eyes, he felt the weight of responsibility crushing down on him. Waves of emotions surged: love, anger, resentment at a system that seemed intent on breaking families like his. His neighbors rallied around him. Casseroles piled up, and prayers filled the air, transforming the hospital into a makeshift community hub. While part of him felt grateful for the support, another part couldn't shake the reminder of his struggles. Every smile he received felt like a reminder of how tightly the world tightened its noose around him. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Sitting there with Ethan's small hand in his, Jack could feel a flicker of strength. Fierce determination rose as he watched his son fight, his spirit shining like a beacon in the dark. Maybe, just maybe, they could push through this together. Jack's heart swelled with pride, reminding him of the countless nights he had spent teaching Ethan to ride his bike, how his laughter echoed off the old garage walls. But that flicker of hope dimmed as a doctor entered the room, her expression solemn. Time stood still as the room filled with a thick silence. Jack felt trapped between despair and the need to be brave for his son. The doctor's words fell heavily, altering their fragile reality with each syllable. Jack felt the weight of the universe crash down on him. At that moment, he found himself at a crossroads, a decision that would shake the very foundation of everything he believed about being a father. How would he navigate this storm threatening to rip apart the American dream he fought so hard to build with Ethan? Would he have the courage to stand against the odds? The uncertainty settled over him, thick like the falling snow outside, leaving nagging questions hanging in the air, echoing their struggles together. Jack blinked, his eyes stinging with suppressed tears, as the doctor's voice faded into the background buzz of the hospital. He felt like he was being pulled under by the tide, lost in a sea of medical jargon that held too many implications. "We need to act quickly," she said, but Jack couldn't wrap his head around anything beyond the image of Ethan's pale face, his breath uneven. "Act? What do you mean act?" Jack's voice caught in his throat. "What's wrong with him?" "Ethan is experiencing complications related to his condition. We need to stabilize him and begin treatment immediately." Her words felt clinical, yet the weight of her concern was evident. She continued, but Jack's mind focused on those scrawny fingers held tightly in his. "How do I do this?" Haltingly, he released Ethan's hand and stood, feeling disoriented yet suddenly responsible for more than just his own feelings. He needed answers. Someone has to help him. "I can't lose him," the doctor nodded, the empathetic glimmer in her eyes somehow both reassuring and terrifying. "We're doing everything we can. I'll make sure you're updated as we go." Jack's stomach twisted. He needed to pull himself together. He turned to the waiting area, where families nestled in chairs, exchanging hopeful glances, each lost in their own turmoil. That could be him, the embodiment of anxiety. As he paced, he heard snatches of conversation around him. A mother was whispering soothing words to a daughter, while a father paced back and forth, deep in thought. He needed to harness that energy. Focused on the fights around him, he approached a nurse leaning against a wall. "What can I do? I can't just sit here," panic bubbled as he fidgeted with his hands. She offered a gentle smile. "Right now, it's south best to stay close. Just being here helps," she urged. But Jack's world was spinning. The seams of his existence felt frayed, unraveling while he watched Ethan fight against an unseen enemy. He raked his fingers through his hair, frustration boiling. A flashing thought crested: what if he was meant to do something more? "Can't I talk to a social worker? Something? Anything?" He blurted before the nurse could respond, a sense of urgency flowing through him. Her eyes softened further. "I can bring someone for you. Here, let me please. I just need to know how to help him." The tears he fought to suppress finally cascaded down his cheeks, burning with the cold truth of his vulnerability. The nurse nodded, disappearing into the bustling corridor. Jack leaned against the wall, exhaustion crashing over him like the winter snow outside. He wanted to scream, to rage against the unfairness of it all. But he couldn't. Not here. Not now. While waiting, his thoughts turned back to Ethan, the way he laughed, the way he chased after every firefly in the backyard last summer, every pancake day ritual they shared. Those little moments danced in his mind, fueling a flicker of hope. If only their memories could somehow breathe life back into the fragile shell that lay in the hospital bed. "Dad." A feeble whisper broke through Jack's reverie, dragging him back to the present. He turned to see Ethan's eyes slightly opened, struggling to focus, still muddled by medication and weariness. "Ethan." Jack rushed to his side, heart pounding. "I'm right here, buddy. I'm right here." But there was more that needed saying, a deeper promise to communicate. The battle was far from over, and somehow, they had to win together. Could they find their way back to that laughter? Would the sunlight break through the stormy clouds looming above them? In that moment of connection, Jack understood one thing: he would fight with everything he had. No matter the outcome, he wouldn't give up his little boy. As he took a deep breath, resolve gathering within him like warmth from a fire, the nurse returned, her expression calm yet serious. "Let us discuss the next steps." Jack's heart raced again. This was it. The moment everything could change. Would he be strong enough to face what was coming? Or would this be the moment he feared most? The battle was only just beginning. Jack's heart felt like it was beating out of his chest as the nurse gestured for him to follow her. He trailed behind her down the sterile corridor, each step heavy with anticipation. The fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting harsh shadows that danced on the walls, and each flicker felt like a countdown to something he wasn't prepared for. The nurse led him into a quiet room lined with charts and clinical tools that seemed foreign to him. He caught a glimpse of a few other families huddled together, some holding each other tightly as if strength could be shared, but Jack could only focus on the nurse. "Sit," she said gently, motioning toward a chair. Jack sank into it and gripped the edges as he braced himself for whatever news was coming. "It's important we communicate clearly," she began, her voice steady. "Ethan's condition has worsened, and we have to be proactive. We need to consider all options available to us." "Options? What do you mean options?" Jack's voice rose as panic set in again. "What's happening to him?" She took a deep breath. "Ethan's body is struggling to manage the treatment. We're considering a more aggressive approach. There are risks, but we want to give him the best chance possible." Aggressive risks. The words echoed in his mind, swirling around like a storm. Jack's fists tightened. They were talking about his son, his little boy, like numbers on a chart rather than his laughter, his dreams. What are the risks? he whispered, terrified of the answer. While we can improve chances of recovery, the treatment can cause significant side effects. We need your consent if you decide to proceed. The nurse's voice softened, letting Jack feel the weight of the responsibility. Jack's breath came out shaky, his voice barely a whisper. What if it doesn't work? What if I say yes and it only makes it worse? He could see the sympathy in her eyes, the understanding that her words held a burden. It's never easy, but I promise we will do everything we can, she insisted, urgency seeping into her tone. You must decide based on what you think would give Ethan the best shot. Every moment spent in indecision felt like an eternity. Jack thought about the birthdays, the summers spent chasing fireflies, every pancake breakfast filled with giggles. He couldn't sit back and lose him without a fight. But was he choosing hope, or was he just deluding himself? I can't lose him. I'd do anything. The words were raw, spilling from him without thought. If this is the chance he needs, then yes. Do everything. Please. The nurse nodded, relief and respect flooding her features. You're making a difficult choice, but it's telling of the love you have for him. I'll have the team prepare everything. She squeezed his shoulder gently before leaving the room. Jack sat alone, the words still echoing around him, a haunting affirmation of just how far he would go. His heart felt heavy yet resolute. He stood up, looking back toward the door. Ethan, he murmured, the name like a lifeline. As the minutes ticked by, dread seeped into every corner of his mind. What awaited him on the other side of those doors? Would there be acknowledgement in his son's eyes, a flicker of understanding? The battle before them was harsh, unyielding, but they would face it together. The door swung open. The doctor entered, her face masked with determination. Let us get to work. Jack's heart raced. He took a deep breath, ready to stand alongside his son in whatever may come. Unknowns loomed ahead, a dark fog waiting, but they would fight, together. Would their fight against the odds lead to the light they desperately needed? Suddenly, the beeping machines in the room felt like a countdown, escalating his anxiety. How much time did they truly have left? Jack's heart raced as he faced the stark reality. The doctor's words hung in the air. Let us get to work. He could see the energy in her movement, her determination spilling out like a lifeline between them. But what did that mean for Ethan? The medical team swept into action. Nurses and aides bustled around, their hands deft and sure. Machines wheeled in with blinking lights and cables that snaked across the floor. Jack found himself standing against the wall, watching as if he was outside a scene in a movie, unable to step onto the set. Each beep of the machines felt like it was synced to his own heartbeat. Was it really all happening? Sir, can I have you over here? A nurse waved him over, urgency merging with kindness. You can help us. A wave of dread washed over him. Help? He barely felt capable of standing, let alone assisting. He moved forward, swallowed by the chaos swirling around him. They began talking in a flurry of medical terminology, explaining procedures and medication. But all Jack could hear was the pounding of his heart drowning out everything else. Ethan's vitals are stable, but we need to be proactive, the doctor said, her steely determination never wavering. We're starting with a new dosage of the treatment. It's critical we monitor him closely. He took a deep breath, desperation clawing at him. Will it hurt him? The question slipped from his lips, the fear heavy as a stone. With a gentle gaze, the doctor said, there may be side effects, but think about the alternative. This is a chance, Jack. We have to take it. Hope flickered like a candle in the wind. Could this be the light he had longed for? He needed to believe so. He glanced over to where Ethan lay, so small against the backdrop of the sterile room. The sight struck him hard, tubes, wires, his son looking so vulnerable, yet Jack saw it. Underneath the frail cover cropped by illness was the spirit of that boy who could turn the darkest day into light with a simple smile. Just then, a soft groan from the bed caught his attention. Jack's heart soared. Ethan was waking. Dad? The weak whisper danced across the room, a beam of sunlight breaking through his stormy thoughts. "Hey, buddy," he rushed to his son's side. He took Ethan's small hand in his, feeling the warmth of him. "It's okay. We're here. We're fighting together." The tears filled his eyes, a mix of fear and love swelling his chest. "I'm scared, Dad." Ethan's voice trembled, pulling at Jack's heartstrings. "Me too, son," Jack admitted, nodding. "But we're not alone. I'm here, just like always." In that moment, Jack realized that love was not just about keeping Ethan safe, it was about facing the unknown, showing up even when everything felt shattered. The steady rhythm of the machines became a comforting underscore to their shared strength. As the nurse adjusted the four, Jack squeezed Ethan's hand tighter. "No matter what happens, we're in this together, all right?" Ethan's eyes flickered, trusting. "Together," he echoed, then added with a small smile, "like superheroes." "Yes," Jack said, laughing slightly through his tears. Superheroes. But with every passing moment, doubt still lurked in the shadows. Would their heroics be enough? Would the treatment pull through? Before he could spiral into further worry, a new nurse entered the room, her expression tight. "We need to discuss something important regarding the treatment protocol." Jack's heart dropped. "What now?" He glanced at Ethan, whose weary eyes met his own. Fear threaded through the air as Jack braced himself for whatever news was coming next. What were they about to reveal? The nurse's words hung heavy in the air. Jack's mind raced, processing the tension in her tone. He felt as though the room had shrunk, the sterile walls cramping around him. "What is it?" he finally managed to ask, his voice barely above a whisper. "Please, let us step outside for a moment," she replied, glancing at Ethan before leading Jack away from the bed. Each step felt like a small eternity, his stomach churning with anxiety. Once in the hallway, the nurse turned to him, her expression firm and compassionate. "We need to discuss the new treatment plan and the potential risks involved." Jack's heart sank further. "Risks?" He shook his head, adrenaline pumping through him. "What do you mean?" "I thought this was going to be our chance." "I understand. But there are side effects we need to consider," she explained softly. "The new dosage can cause severe nausea, weakness, and mood swings." Ethan's young and strong, but... "But what?" Jack interrupted, the desperation tainting his tone. "What if this doesn't work? What if?" She placed a hand on his shoulder, steady and grounding. "This is a treatment, Jack. It has the potential to help him, but it's not without challenges. We need to approach it carefully." "Carefully?" he echoed, panic rising. "He's just a kid. Can't you make it easier for him?" Her eyes softened, and Jack saw genuine warmth there. "We will do everything we can. Remember, the hope is there, but we need to prepare for every possibility. Ethan needs you to be strong for him." Jack took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. "I just want him to be okay. All I want is to take away his pain." "I understand," she replied. "It's harder to face these decisions, but you're not alone in this." As Jack stood there, trying to wrap his head around her words, the sound of beeping monitors floated through the doors behind them, a stark reminder of the battle they were all fighting. He felt his chest tighten. He glanced toward the room, where Ethan lay, his little body engulfed in machines and wires, unnaturally still. Just moments ago, Jack had been feeling hopeful again. Now, uncertainty plunged back into the cracks of his heart. Was this fight only making things worse? "Jack," the nurse said gently, pulling him back to the moment at hand, "we need to make a decision soon. You know your son best. Are you ready to consider the potential risks for the sake of hope?" Jack's heart tugged, the weight of his love and terror colliding. He wanted to say yes, to leap into the unknown for Ethan's chance to emerge victorious. But fear and doubt danced in his mind, threatening to drown him. "What if I make the wrong choice?" he whispered, helplessness creeping into his voice. You won't know if you don't try, she replied firmly. You've already been Ethan's strength. Trust in that. Trust in him. In that instant, he remembered Ethan's smile, a weapon of light against darkness. The boy who saw the world with wonder, who could turn the simplest moment into magic. Jack's breath caught as a new determination bloomed, fighting against his fear, the refusal to let doubt snuff out their flicker of hope. Yes, he finally said, his voice trembling but firm. Let us proceed. For him. Good, she nodded, offering a small smile. I'll prepare the team. As she walked away, Jack felt both terrified and resolute. Ethan would still be there, fighting to show the world his strength. But as he returned to the room, a weight settled in his chest once more. Would this choice only lead to more suffering? He approached Ethan, who looked up at him, eyes shining with that same childlike hope. Dad, what's happening? Are we okay? Jack hesitated, not wanting to shatter the fragile confidence of his boy. We're going to be okay, buddy. Together, remember? But as the machines beeped around them, Jack couldn't shake off the looming question, would together be enough? The door swung open, and the doctor stepped in, ready for the next phase. Jack, it's time. His heart pounded, uncertainty threading through his thoughts once more. What awaited them on the other side of this decision? How would their journey continue from here? Jack's breath caught in his throat as the doctor entered, clipboard in hand, and a look of determination etched across his face. It felt as if time paused for a split second, every beeping machine practically echoing the heartbeat of Jack's rising anxiety. He locked eyes with Ethan, who offered a small, brave smile, that spark of innocence reminding Jack of the strength nestled in this tiny body. Are you ready, Ethan? The doctor asked, kneeling down to meet the boy's gaze. Jack watched as his son nodded with all the confidence he could muster. It was the same kind of trust Jack had seen in him when he first learned to ride a bike, or when he faced off against the monstrous shadow of his fear during a thunderstorm. Yeah, I want to fight, Ethan declared, his voice firm despite the tremor of uncertainty beneath. Jack felt a swell of pride wash over him, but it was quickly followed by a wave of despair mingled with hope. How could such a small creature carry such weight? Good boy, the doctor said, standing tall again. We're going to start with the first round of the medication now. It'll take some time, but I'll be here, and so will your dad. Jack's heart ached at that, knowing that the fight didn't just belong to Ethan. He was right there in the trenches, too. His role had shifted drastically from protector to participant in one of the toughest battles imaginable. As the doctor prepped the 4-line, Jack positioned himself beside the bed, gripping Ethan's hand tightly, their fingers intertwined like interlocking heroes in a quest. They're gonna make me better, right? Ethan's eyes shone with hope, but fear loomed behind them like a storm cloud. Yes, buddy, Jack said, trying to project certainty. This is going to help you. We have to believe that. The doctor's hands moved professionally, and Jack barely paid attention as he prepared the infusion of medications. Instead, his focus remained on Ethan's face, watching the flicker of emotions dancing across it. But he knew the inevitable side effects were lurking ahead, ready to strike like a thief in the night. Dad, will it hurt? Ethan whispered, as if the question dragged chains of dread with it. Jack felt a gust of pain wrench through his chest, and he leaned closer. It might feel a bit yucky at first, but we're going through this together. I promise I'll be right here. You're my little warrior. Their eyes locked as silence engulfed them for a heartbeat. Jack could feel the air thicken with both fear and resolve. Then Ethan's small grin reappeared, illuminating the dim room like a beacon. The doctor initiated the infusion, and as the fluid flowed, the machines around them chimed softly in response, a mechanical murmur acting as a lullaby to their anxieties. But within his heart, dread bubbled up. How would Ethan's body react? Minutes passed, feeling like hours. Jack was acutely aware of every change in Ethan's expression. Each flicker of discomfort in the boy's brows sent a jolt of panic through him. Are you okay? Talk to me, buddy, Jack urged. I think I'm okay, Ethan said tentatively, his voice almost a whisper now. yet the fight remained visible in his eyes, a spark against the mounting shadows of his physical state. Jack didn't have an answer. Instead, he squeezed Ethan's hand tighter, willing every ounce of strength he had into his son's small frame. "You're not alone. We're in this together." Suddenly, Ethan's breathing hitched. Jack's heart dropped as he saw the color drain from his son's face. The machines responded with a frenzy of beeping, an alarm echoing his worst fears. "Doctor!" Jack shouted, panic rising. The doctor rushed over. "Ethan, can you still hear me?" The urgency in his voice sent Jack spiraling, a wave of chaos engulfing the moment. "Keep calm, we need to adjust the dosage now." Jack's world blurred as he stood helpless, heart in his throat, fear clawing at him, snatching away each breath he took. He realized then they were indeed in the depths of a battle, but who would come out the other side? Would he still have his son? He felt a wave of uncertainty crash over him. And as the chaos surged, Jack held tightly to that small hand, determined to stand strong, no matter the outcome. What price would they pay to fight this fight together? The uncertainty hung in the air, thick and suffocating, mirroring the silent plea in his heart, "Please let him be all right." Suddenly, Ethan's mouth moved, and Jack barely made out the words, "Dad. I'm scared." The weight of the world settled squarely on Jack's shoulders, and he needed to conjure the answer not just for himself but for Ethan. With a fresh surge of determination, he fought against the shadows creeping around them, silently promising. "What would you say to a superhero, Ethan?" he asked, his voice stronger than he felt. Ethan took a deep breath, and for an instant, it seemed the glimmer returned. "They always find a way, even when it's hard." Jack nodded, feeling a spark ignite deep within. Together in this fight, could they find their way, too? But just before he could form his next words, the doctor turned sharply. "We need to make adjustments now, it's critical." What would this adjustment mean for Ethan? Would it save him, or would it send them spiraling even deeper into uncertainty? Jack's heart raced as he watched the doctor rush over with a sense of urgency that only amplified his fear. The chaotic beeping around them morphed into a frenzied symphony of alarms that echoed the terror rising in Jack's chest. He couldn't shake the feeling that time was slipping away, and he felt utterly powerless. "Breathe, Ethan," Jack urged, his voice cracking. He gently brushed his fingers through Ethan's hair, trying to anchor him in the storm. "Just keep breathing, buddy." Ethan's eyes searched Jack's face, desperately clinging to the calm that was quickly unraveling in the room. "Dad, I don't want to be scared." I know, Jack said, forcing a smile through tears he hadn't yet shed. "But you're the bravest kid I know. You're fighting hard, remember?" He wanted to believe this moment wouldn't break them. He could almost feel Ethan's tiny heart battling against the odds, just as Jack had fought in so many ways over the years. "Vital signs are dropping." The doctor's voice cut through the haze, sharp and commanding. Jack watched as the medical team surged into action, hands moved with practiced precision, but Jack lingered on Ethan's face, searching for signs of reassurance, courage, anything to grasp onto. "Stay with us, Ethan," echoed the nurse, calibrating the machine with dexterous efficiency. "We're adjusting your dosage to help. You're so strong, just hold on for us." Jack could sense the whirlwind of emotions swirling: the fragility of life, the immediate reality of fatherhood, and the piercing wish to keep his child safe. The fear felt so raw, it threatened to suffocate him, but in the same breath, Jack felt a surge of resolve he didn't know he had. "Do you feel my hand?" Jack gripped Ethan's smaller one with all the strength he could muster. "You're not alone in this fight. Remember, even superheroes have their sidekicks." I'm trying," Ethan murmured, squinting against the brightness of the room, fatigue tinging his voice. "Just don't leave me, Dad, I promise, I'm not going anywhere." Jack could feel the warmth of tears brimming in his eyes now, but he blinked them away, determined to keep his focus on Ethan. "You'll be okay, I'm right here. Just keep that warrior spirit alive." Suddenly, the machines surrounding them began to steady, the frantic beeping softening as Ethan's vitals improved. A small, Fragile smile curled at the corners of Ethan's mouth, a flicker of relief that sent a shiver down Jack's spine. The doctor turned, meeting Jack's hopeful gaze. The adjustments are working. We're stabilizing. Jack could hardly breathe with the weight of that news, a rush of gratitude flooding him. You hear that, Ethan? You did it, kiddo. The beat of uncertainty still pounded like a drum in Jack's chest. This was just one small victory in a war that had just begun. But at that moment, the world outside faded. It was just Jack and Ethan, linked by faith, love, and an unwavering belief that they could do this together. But as the team moved to prepare for the next steps in Ethan's treatment, Jack caught a glimpse of darkness in his son's eyes again. Dad, what if it doesn't work? What happens then? The honesty of that question pierced through Jack like a spear. He had no easy answer. If this wasn't the point of change they all hoped for, what would be left? Then we fight harder, Jack replied, his voice steady despite the tremor in his heart. You and me, together. We face it all. And you know what? I believe in miracles, Ethan. The two shared a lingering smile, fragile yet potent as hope and uncertainty danced between them like shadows, lingering and waiting to take form. What came next would test them even further. Suddenly, the doctor's phone buzzed, a message startlingly out of place in their cocoon. He glanced at it, then looked up with an expression that turned Jack's stomach. Was it only more bad news? Jack, the doctor said, an unusual seriousness framing his features, we need to talk about an experimental treatment. Jack swallowed hard, his heart racing anew. Would this be the miracle they so desperately needed, or another leap into the dark? Jack's mind buzzed like the machines around him. Experimental treatment? The phrase hung in the air like a thundercloud ready to break. He watched the doctor's lips move, but for a moment, the words blurred together. It felt surreal, like a scene from a movie playing out before him. Jack, the doctor continued, this treatment is unconventional. There are risks, but some studies show promising results. Jack nodded, trying to absorb the information. Promising. He clung to that word. What do you mean by unconventional? It's advanced and not fully approved, the doctor explained, his voice steady but laced with concern. But for patients like Ethan, those who haven't responded to standard therapies, it could be a game changer. Ethan, still half lost in his fragile world, turned his gaze to Jack. Dad, what's happening? His voice trembled, raw and vulnerable, pulling at Jack's heartstrings. Just a new option to help you feel better, Jack replied, swallowing hard against the lump in his throat. Is it safe? Ethan asked, his innocent blue eyes searching for certainty that Jack wasn't sure he could provide. The doctors are doing their best, buddy. They want to help you feel strong again, to let you play and laugh like you should, Jack said, desperate to ignite that sparkle of hope in Ethan's gaze. A nurse entered the room with a soothing presence, her smile warm. Ethan, we're all cheering for you. I promise, we're going to take good care of you. Jack could see Ethan's spirit flicker a little brighter at her words, but doubt still lingered in his child's expression. What if the new treatment doesn't work? Jack hated to see that uncertainty, how it twisted Ethan's little face. Then we keep fighting, just like we talked about. But we have to believe in the chance, right? Every superhero has to hope for a miracle. Ethan hesitated, evaluating his father's unwavering spirit. Will you still be here? As long as it takes, Jack declared fiercely, squeezing Ethan's hand tightly. The doctor cleared his throat, capturing Jack's attention again. We need to make a decision soon. The sooner we start, the better. I don't know, Jack stammered, caught between fear and hope, instinctively feeling protective of his son. He didn't want to plunge into something that could hurt Ethan more. Jack, the doctor said gently, this is a choice that only you can make. Heavy silence filled the room as Jack grappled with the weight of the future. He thought of the nights they had spent talking about dreams, about being brave through the darkest storms. If this could give you your life back, Ethan, would you want to try it? He asked, keeping his voice steady despite the chaos inside. Ethan's gaze shifted to the window, where clouds drifted lazily by, oblivious to the weight of human suffering below. What if it's too risky? Jack studied Ethan's face, that familiar mix of fear and bravery etched upon it. Risk is part of every great adventure, buddy. You've always loved adventures, right? Ethan nodded slowly, the corners of his lips lifting a little. Yeah, I guess superheroes take risks. And they do it for what they love, Jack reminded, feeling the heat of determination building in his chest. We'll do this together. You, me, and all the superheroes we can rally up. Jack knew that whatever lay ahead, they would face it as a team. His own fears didn't matter, it was Ethan's courage that lit the path forward. With a deep breath, Jack looked into his son's eyes, focusing on the glimmer of possibility shining back at him. So, shall we talk to the doctor about this experimental treatment? A small spark ignited within Ethan. Okay, let us do it. As Jack nodded, relief swept over him. Yet, anxiety simmered just beneath the surface. What if this was a decision they could never take back? What awaited them on the other side of this leap of faith? Before Jack could voice his concerns, a loud alarm pierced the room, a sudden breach of chaos that shook everything he thought he knew. Code Blue rang out across the hallway, panic spreading like fire. Jack's heart dropped. Who needed help? Where was the bravery now? And just when Jack thought the worst was over, everything began to fall apart in a way that he never could have anticipated. Jack's heart raced as he scanned the room, trying to make sense of the disarray. The alarm blared like a siren, each beep echoing his rising tension. The nurse's face turned pale as she rushed out. The doctor followed closely behind, urgency dripping from every stride. Wait. What's happening? Jack's voice cut through the noise, but his question hung unanswered in the air. He turned back to Ethan, who seemed unfazed by the commotion, eyes fixed on the door, uncertainty creeping back across his face. It's okay, buddy, Jack said, trying to keep his tone light, fighting the panic that clawed at his insides. Just a routine thing. You're safe. Yet, he lacked conviction. His real fear churned beneath the surface. The minutes dragged on like hours. Every siren, every hurried voice made Jack's stomach churn. He felt trapped, almost like he was drowning, too many worries piling up, one on top of the other. Out of the corner of his eye, he caught a glimpse of the commotion outside. Doctors and nurses swarming like bees around a hive. Someone needed help urgently. Dad, what's wrong? Ethan asked, the tremble in his voice revealing his own fear. Nothing we can't handle, I promise. Jack offered a shaky smile, but doubts flooded his mind. Nothing focused, just a swirling mix of horror and despair. He felt helpless, wanting to shield Ethan from this world of uncertainty. Then, without warning, the door burst open again. A doctor, face tight with concern, rushed in, his eyes locking onto Jack. Sir, I need to speak with you. What happened? Is it Ethan? Jack's heart hammered in his chest as dread pooled in his stomach. No, he's stable. But we need you to come with me. The doctor motioned urgently. Jack didn't know if relief or further fear hit him harder. What is going on? He managed, voice strained. We have an emergency with another patient in the adjoining room. The doctor's breath came quick, and Jack felt every word like a punch to the gut. They need someone to cover while I manage this situation. It's a pediatric case, we need you to come. In that moment, Jack's mind shifted gears. Another child? Someone else's battle playing out on the other side of the wall? All at once, the weight of what those words meant crashed over him. Would this child's parents feel the same horror he had felt just moments ago? Would they be grasping for hope as he was? Okay, Jack said, his voice steadier than he felt. Let us go. He didn't wait for the doctor to respond. He gripped Ethan's hand tighter, getting ready for whatever came next, even as the world spun around him. As they stepped out of the room, he turned back to Ethan, who met his gaze with wide eyes, a mix of confusion and courage shining through. I'll be right back, I promise. Jack said, forcing conviction into his words. Promise? Ethan's voice was barely above a whisper. It broke Jack's heart. Promise, kiddo. Jack waved a reassuring hand and moved down the corridor, each step echoing uncertainty. Then, as he entered the bustling room, the reality struck him. Stretched out before him, a child lay unresponsive, staff hustling around like a whirlwind. They called commands, machines chimed alarms, and the reality of life and death crystallized in that instant. One moment standing on the edge of hope, now faced with raw fear. Wait, I can't, but the door closed behind him before he could catch his breath. As he watched the scene unfold, Jack realized that his fight for hope was far from over. The weight of another family's turmoil crashed like waves against his spirit. Could he really stand firm when everything felt so precarious? Amidst the chaos, something flickered in the air, a voice calling for a parent. The child needed a connection, warmth, something errant from the stark clinical atmosphere surrounding them. The plea rang true, igniting something deep inside Jack. And just as he contemplated the choices they all must face, the door swung open again, revealing a nurse holding a familiar teddy bear. His heart sank. It was Ethan's most cherished toy, but why was it here? What did that mean for them? Jack felt dread fill the air around him, suffocating and ominous. The threads holding his world together threatened to unravel, and he would soon find out just how much more was at stake. Jack could barely breathe as the nurse entered, clutching the familiar teddy bear that belonged to Ethan. The sight sent a rush of panic through him. What is going on? Is Ethan okay? He demanded, his voice higher than he intended. The nurse's eyes flickered with empathy. Ethan is stable, but with this emergency in the next room, we need you to help keep him calm. He has been asking for you. Jack's heart ached at the urgency of her words. But what about the other child? He asked, torn between duty and his desperate need to be by Ethan's side. Just a few more minutes, she assured him. We're handling it. Right now, Ethan needs his dad. The clarity of that statement flooded through him. That's where he needed to be, right next to Ethan, bringing comfort amidst the chaos. Okay, he said, taking the teddy bear from her and cradling it in his arms like a lifeline. As he rushed back to Ethan's room, balancing that fragile hope between his heart and his fears, he opened the door to find his son waiting. Ethan was looking anxiously at the machines around him, eyes wide and filled with a mix of hope and fear. Dad! You're back. I'm here, buddy. Jack rushed to his side, clutching the teddy bear tightly. He could feel the warmth emanating from it, a small piece of home amidst the sterile surroundings. I brought your bear. He's here for you. Ethan's eyes lit up at the sight of his beloved friend. My bear. He reached for it, and Jack placed it gently in his arms. Thanks, Dad, he said, a smile breaking through his worry. I'll always have your back, no matter what, Jack replied, feeling his heart fill with love. We're going to get through this together. The machines beeped steadily, and each sound felt momentary, like a countdown to either triumph or despair. Suddenly, the door swung open again, and the doctor marched in, adrenaline pouring off him like the brisk winter air. Jack, we need to adjust Ethan's treatment plan. The experimental option is ready to go. Are you on board? Jack looked into the doctor's eyes, fierce determination sparking within him. He recalled all of Ethan's small yet mighty victories, the laughter, the firefly hunts, the bright dreams of a future filled with promise. Let us do it, he said firmly. The doctor nodded, relief evident on his face as they began preparing the new treatment. Jack turned back to Ethan, who was still clutching the teddy bear, looking somewhat anxious. You're going to be okay, right? The boy asked, voice quivering slightly. I promise, Jack said as he squeezed Ethan's hand. You've always been my little superhero. Heroes always win. Ethan declared, as though summoning every ounce of strength he had left. Exactly. Jack said with a burst of pride. The team moved quickly, infusing Ethan with the new treatment. Jack held his breath, watching every slight movement in his son's expression. The seconds felt torturous, but finally, Ethan let out a sigh, his face softening. "Is it working?" "I don't know yet, buddy, but we're fighting," Jack replied, feeling hope mingle with fear. Ethan leaned back, letting out a breath of relief. Yet just as the atmosphere brightened, a sudden flurry of alarms erupted again. "We need to stabilize a sudden reaction," a nurse shouted. Jack felt the world tilt again. "What's happening?" he yelled, his heart racing. "Ethan's vitals are fluctuating," the doctor said urgently, moving with practiced precision. Jack watched in disbelief as the machines squawked and beeped in wild disarray. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. "Stay with us, Ethan," the nurse yelled, while Jack could only hold tight to his son's small hand, hoping against hope. "Just breathe, buddy." But within that turmoil, a flicker of something strange emerged. Ethan squeezed Jack's hand back as if to say he was still here, still fighting. "Dad, remember what I said? Heroes never quit." "Right," Jack replied, feeling that unyielding spirit radiate between them even as the chaos swirled around. He couldn't let fear drown him, he had to be that anchor for his son. "Ethan, listen carefully," Jack said, edging closer to his boy's ear. "We're heroes, remember? It's okay to feel scared, but we're going to get through this. We're not alone, and I'm with you all the way." The surrounding chaos seemed to fade into the background as Jack poured every bit of his love and strength into Ethan. Then something miraculous happened. A calm began to settle, almost tangible as the alarms softened in response. The medical staff worked diligently, but Jack couldn't shake that sense of hope rekindling in the air. As the world leveled out again, the doctor looked up, eyes shining with resolve. "We have stabilized him for now. We'll adjust and monitor closely." Jack's heart soared with relief as he looked at Ethan's face, worn but resilient. In that moment, he realized that it wasn't just about the fight against cancer, it was about the bond they shared. It was the love they carried into every dark corner and the joys that couldn't be extinguished, that transcended every challenge thrown their way. "Best friends forever, right?" Ethan whispered, a soft determination lining his words. "Always," Jack whispered back, feeling the warmth envelop them like a blanket. Each of their hearts beat in sync, an unwavering rhythm beneath the uncertainty. Together, they were invincible. Their journey wasn't over. The road didn't promise to be smooth, but Jack understood now that true courage was not just fighting the battle but cherishing every moment along the way. He would hold Ethan's hand through every storm, every victory, and every setback because that's what superheroes did. "Now, let us fill the rest of our days with adventures ahead," Jack said, eyes shining with resolute optimism. "Yeah." Ethan beamed brightly, and Jack felt the tears pool in his eyes, not from sadness but from the fierce joy of that connection that rooted them in hope. Jack grinned widely. "Let us keep fighting, little warrior." As laughter replaced the tension in the room, Jack felt deeply that they would find their way back to the light. They would weather this storm, side by side, forever in the fight. And with that, they moved forward together through the darkness and into the dawn of a new day. Now, dear friends, this is the moment to rally around us. You need to subscribe right now to not miss out on exclusive stories of hope and transformation. Let's shatter that like button to fuel the algorithm. We can't do this without your support. Comment below with your reactions and let us know how this powerful journey touched you. And don't wait not even one more second to share this inspiring video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support matters, and together, we can make a difference.